October the 18th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 4. Why do all their courtrooms look the same? Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Very well. Mr. Edgeworth, your opening statement, please. The prosecution will show the court that at 2:30 p.m. on October the 15th, the defendant, Mr. Will Powers, killed fellow actor Jack Hammer in Studio 1 of Global Studios. It is impossible for anyone else to have committed this heinous crime. The evidence presented during the trial will all point to this fact. I see. Very well. I would like to move on to some testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution may call its first witness. Very well. I call the most familiar face, Detective Gumshoe, to the stand. Detective, if you would briefly describe this case to the court. Yes, sir. I'll explain with the guide map here. To understand this case, it's important to grasp the layout of the studios. See? This here is the employee area. The actors did a run-through of their action scenes during the morning here. This is the main gate to the studios. The security lady that works at the studios was here at 1 p.m. on that day. Past the security station there is a gate, see? Past that are the studios. And here it is, Studio 1. This is the scene of the murder where the body was found. Now on the day of the murder, October 15, there were only 3 people here. The victim, Jack Hammer, the defendant, Will Powers, and a young woman, the production assistant. Maybe she was the murderer. All the production staff were in the employee area until noon. Then after lunch, the victim, Jack Hammer, went to Studio 1. Right after that, at 1 p.m, the security lady got to the guard station. Now jump ahead to later that day, 5 p.m. The production staff came to Studio 1 to perform a rehearsal. Needless to say, the rehearsal was cancelled. The time of death was 2:30 p.m. The samurai spear found lodged in the victim's chest was the murder weapon. That's the case in brief. Anyone like to hear that again? Should I listen to that whole thing again? No. I think I can probably remember that. So the murder weapon was a spear. Oh. So the murder weapon was a spear. How medieval. Alright, samurai spear edit. Your Honor, this case is quite simple if you ask one question. And that question is, what did the security lady at the guard station see? Understood. Let's call the security officer to the stand. Will the witness declare her name? My, aren't you a handsome fellow? I'm afraid I'm a bit flustered. Your name, please. Oh, dearie, no need for you to be embarrassed. Just call me Grandma. Your name, please. Seems Edgeworth has a bit of trouble getting his witness to say their names. Wendy Oldbag, dearie. So just call me Grandma. It's practically my name, so even when I was young, I was an old... Oh god, yeah. It's definitely a character trait. Well, I can't voice that quickly. Objection. I object to the witness's talkativeness. Oh yeah, so definitely. Yep. Objection sustained. The witness will refrain from rambling on the stand. I was just getting to the good part, dearie. Perhaps we can get to the testimony. Now the witness was stationed at the main gate on the day of the murder, correct? Yes, sir, I was. And to get to the scene of the murder, someone would have to pass by you. You know your stuff, dearie. You may begin your testimony. She sure is one hell of an old bag. Alright, the testimony. What have we got here? On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 p.m. Poor old Hammer and the rest had been doing a run through there since the morning. I had some errands to run that morning. Anyway, it was 1 when I got to the guard station. I was at the main gate from then until 5. Now the murder happened at 2:30 p.m., right? Interesting to me because a certain man walked right by me at 2 p.m. It was Powers. That man right there, and he was heading towards the studio. You saw the defendant then? Very well. Let's begin the cross-examination. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor. Alright, what can we take apart here? Okay. I don't have to press on that just yet. Yep. The thing I was interested in was this. What sort of errands were you doing? Well, you know. Answer the question. Actually, I was watching poor Hammer and Powers. Observing, you know. Observing? Weren't you supposed to be at the guard station? Whippersnapper, I told you I locked the gate, didn't I? I did my job. I'm not sure your boss would see it that way. Anyway, I always watch Hammer's run-throughs. Always. Never missed one in all my years. Wow, I want to see a Steel Samurai run-through too. You could quit being a spirit medium and take up guard duty. Not a bad idea. Alright. There was one... sure. Did you never leave? So you were watching there the whole time? No breaks? Not even a second? Oh, of course. I'm a professional, you know. A professional who just said that she abandoned her guard duty in the morning because she wanted to see her famous actor. Or are you criticizing how I do my job, Whippersnapper? I am, yes. No, it's just after seeing you eating those donuts in the guard station yesterday. I can watch the gate and eat donuts at the same time. Snipper-wapper. Snipper-wapper? Old Windbag is losing it, Nick. Why don't you raise an objection? So the witness was on duty through the afternoon the whole time. Very well. What did you see? I think it did. Let me just check that. Yep. We've got that photo, yep. Two? You're sure? Sure as spit. Well, who was the man? Really, you should try not to get so excited at your age. You might strain something. Now, don't get your skeevies all in a bunch. I'll tell you who it was. Are you sure? So you saw Mr. Powers? That's what I said. Got wax in your ears, Sonny? Nick, this is your chance. Yep, time to pull out the secret weapon. I'll say it again, it was him. Nope, you can't be so sure of that. Let me get this straight, old bag. Mrs. Old Bag. You've been saying since yesterday that you saw Mr. Powers, correct? But you're talking about the man in this photo, aren't you? Just a moment, Mr. Wright. Let me see that photo. What is this exactly? None other than the Steel Samurai, defender of New Old Tokyo. Mrs. Oldbag, is this the Mr. Powers that you saw? Of course, didn't your mama teach you any sense, Sonny? Anyone can plainly see that's Powers, right? No, they can't. Well, I mean, I wonder. True, Mr. Powers does play the role of the Steel Samurai. But that doesn't mean Mr. Powers is the Steel Samurai.
I know that. I wasn't born yesterday.
No one in this court is accusing you of that, Mrs. Witness. She's having trouble calling her old bag, apparently. However, you do not have proof that the person in this photo is Mr. Will Powers, do you?
Noisy old man. Of course I have proof.
What? Huh? Even Edgeworth is surprised. The prosecution would like to ask the witness. Please make known all the information in your possession ahead of time.
How was I to know everyone would be so nosy? You should be ashamed, all of you. Anyway, I showed that photo to the young detective. He told me this isn't any good as evidence, Paul. He didn't even give it a second look.
Wow, old Windback has left even Edgeworth speechless. She's good. Let's hear about your proof then. Alright.
I never say anything I don't mean, mind you. That morning during the run-through of the action scene, I saw Powers trip and fall. He broke one of the props. It was a big mess. Apparently he sprained his ankle pretty bad. Now look at that picture. You can see he's dragging his leg. Clear as day. That's how I knew it was Powers. Happy?
No. That barely makes it any better. So he had sprained his ankle? Very well. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. He's got to be hiding something. I'll press her until she squeals. Also, that man, it doesn't look like he's dragging his feet. It looks like the pants are far too long for him. Which, again, like, look at this. His feet are here. Those are his feet. That is just loose pant leg. Which makes me suspect it has to be a person who's rather small compared to Will Powers. So, again, we're either back to the assistant or the security guard. I'll just press her on anything. Hey, I haven't said anything yet.
I'll have you know I'm not pointing fingers at anyone behind their backs. Everything I've said is on the straight and narrow, the up and up. Youth today always whining about it.
Oh god, she's rambling again. Mr. Wright, please, for all our sakes, try not to upset the witness. I think Edgeworth has met his match. Trip and fall?
Yes, and to think he's supposed to be the Steel Samurai. What a laugh. So Powers sprained his ankle. I helped make it better for him, of course.
You helped make it better?
I kissed it where it hurt.
Let's just skip over that part, shall we? Where was the assistant then?
Oh, her? She was cleaning up backdrops, I think. She didn't know about Powers' ankle.
You may continue your testimony. He broke a prop?
Sure did. His own samurai spear.
A samurai spear, the murder weapon?
Luckily I was there with my duct tape to fix it.
This strikes me as a significant detail. I better write this down in the court record. Okay, how do you know that? Was Mr. Powers' ankle badly sprained?
Not so bad that he couldn't walk around. He went to his dressing room to rest up after lunch.
Thus the nap.
Anyway, I saw him dragging his foot when he walked.
Dragging his foot, okay. I think we've heard enough, haven't we, Your Honor? Well, there is one thing that bothers me. Which is? Where is this Steel Samurai costume now? Actually, well, we couldn't find it. We're looking, though. Anyway, that's not important. The witness did see the Steel Samurai, yes? And it is clear that the person in the steel samurai suit was Mr. Will Powers. I suppose that's right. Are you sure you're sure, Your Honor? Hold it right there. We keep talking possibilities, but we have to agree that this photo shows the steel samurai. Nowhere in this photo can we see Mr. Will Powers. The defense has a point. I also wonder if someone else not caught on camera could have killed Mr. Hammer. We have to consider that possibility also. Then allow me to remove that doubt from your mind, Your Honor. Will the witness continue her testimony, please?
No need to ask twice. The time of poor Hammer's death was 2:30 p.m., true? The only person I saw go to the studio before then was Will Powers. No one else went there. If they had, I would have seen them.
So if no one else went to the studio, then it would have to be the steel samurai who did it. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Okay. Yep, that is true. Oh, wait a second. You did seize Will Powers. Are you absolutely sure?
Oh, quite, Sonny. Nobody suspicious looking passed by at all.
Nobody suspicious looking, right. I wasn't asking about suspicious looking people, I was asking about people in general. What about before you got to the guard station?
You mean before one? Why, everyone was in the employee area before then. And I locked the main gate so no one could get in.
Yeah, because that main gate is about, well, comparing it to the van, that's about 1.60 m maybe? Max? Like, it's absolutely impossible to jump over that. Definitely.
Not to mention.
Well. Are you sure? The witness has answered the question. Anyone going into the studio had to pass by the witness.
That's right, Sonny. You let him have it, edgy boy.
Edgy boy? Edgeworth is not happy about that.
Old Windbag sure has balls, or well, you know what I mean.
Old windbags have a way of skipping over important details after all. Or for that matter, entirely forgetting them.
How convenient.
Something for you to look forward to, perhaps? Yep, it was. I already questioned her about all of this. So I guess I've got to press her in this as well. How do you know that?
Eh? Didn't I just explain? I gave donuts to the young detective. And then, after some rubbish about it being a secret, pal, he told me everything.
I see Detective Gumshoe shares his fellow officer's fondness for donuts. Alright. No one else went there. Well, the thing I'd like to show her is that photo, because it's called photo number 2. I don't know if this is the right place to put it, but I'd like to enter this. Hold on. Look at this photograph one more time. This photo was taken by the camera at the gate for the studios, correct?
Yes, sir, Sonny.
So whenever anyone passes by here, it automatically takes a picture.
And here I thought you didn't know your head from a hole in the ground.
Right, anyway. It's also true that the computer in the guard station records all security cam data.
Oh, you know, if you wanted to work at the studio, we might have an opening.
That very computer printed out this photo. Note that on the back of the photo are printed the words October the 15th, 2 p.m, photo number 2.
Even I know that means it was taken at 2 p.m. on October the 15th. Really, Sonny?
Actually, I knew that too. The issue here is the bit at the end where it says photo number 2.
Photo number 2?
The computer only held data for one photo on that day. Don't you think that's odd? Shouldn't this photo be photo number 1 if it really was the only photo? Order, order. Please tell the court what you mean by this, Mr. Wright. Actually, that's what I want to ask the witness. This evidence shows that not one but 2 people went to the studio that day. Yet there is only data for one of the photos. Who could have erased the data for the other photo? Only someone with access, the security lady herself.
Me? You watch your mouth, whippersnapper. The only person I saw that day was Will Powers.
But the camera on the gate fired twice. That means 2 people went by.
Oh, well, yes, that's what it would seem to me.
Can the witness explain this to the court?
I don't understand these newfangled computer things. Edgy boy, help.
Huh? Believe me, I want to, but I don't know what this means either.
Some help you are. You're a whippersnapper too. Whippersnapper?
Is something the matter, Mrs. Oldbach?
Ah, that's right. I just remembered something.
Let me guess. Someone else passed by the gate. Someone other than the Steel Samurai.
Well, yes, I suppose you could put it that way.
I see. Your testimony, please.
Every day after I finish my guard duties, I have one other important job to do. I go through the photos recorded on the security computer and check them. I throw out any photos that aren't suspicious looking, you see.
Of course she does.
Come to think of it now, I remember throwing out one photo that day.
Mrs. Oldbach, this is the first I've heard of this.
Well, of course, Sonny, I've only just remembered it.
Right. Anyway, Mr. Wright, please begin the cross-examination.
Well, I'd say this was a turn for the unexpected, but I kind of expected this.
Alright, Oldbach, who was it? I mean, that alone is enough to press on that. How exactly do you determine what isn't suspicious looking?
You can tell by looking at their faces, for the most part.
For the most part? This is a murder trial, Mrs. Oldbach.
Well, I didn't touch that suspicious looking Will Powers photo, did I?
I think she's missing the point. Alright, what photo? Well, who in the heck was in that photo you erased? It was the assistant, wasn't it?
A fanboy. Oh.
Fanboy?
Steel Samurai fanboys. Real freaks, if you ask me. They get information about rehearsals from gosh knows where. They're always hanging about. What was there that day?
So a fanboy illegally entered the studio, walked past the security camera, and you deemed him as, that guy's not suspicious. What the... What are you doing? Wait a second, didn't you just say no one else could get in? I locked the main gate so no one could get in. Those were your words.
Well, if you must know, there's a drain that goes into the employee area.
That is not big enough for a person to pass through.
The grate has been loose for a while. It leads outside, and well, that's where they come in.
Did you have a look at that? That drain is, if you look at that bicycle wheel, I'd say that's about 20 centimeters high and maybe 40 centimeters wide. Maybe 50. You can't go through that. That's not possible. They come in through the drain.
I told you they were freaks. Oh, and they're kids, children, whippersnappers.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, possible. Kids? So in the photo that you erased,
It was a boy, probably 2nd or 3rd grade.
alright. He could come through, possibly, through that. Order, order. Let me get this straight. You saw 2 people pass by the gate on their way to the studios that day. One was the steel samurai dragging his leg. The other was a boy who looked to be in about 2nd or 3rd grade.
Ah, yes, well, we see his type there every day. Can't stop, can't catch him.
A boy in 2nd or 3rd grade? I assume it would be hard, if not impossible, for a young boy to wield a samurai spear. Impossible, I think. It's quite heavy.
Right, as I said, I didn't pay him much mind. That's why I erased the data.
Nick, what's going on?
I mean, the boy was there, that makes him a suspect.
Yeah, and they're already trying to unsuspect him. This court will take a 5-minute recess. I want the defense and the prosecution to consider this new information. And no forgetting vital information this time. October the 18th, 11:08 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3. Mr. Powers? Yes? Tell me straight, were you really in your dressing room? You didn't go to the studio? I didn't go to the studio. I was sleeping, honest. So who was the steel samurai in the security photo? How should I know? The steel samurai costume was off in the corner of the dressing room. Anyone could have walked in and taken it, really.
What? You should take better care of that stuff.
I couldn't imagine anyone would want to steal a steel samurai costume. So, where does this leave me? It doesn't look good. You're the only likely suspect right now.
Nick, what are we going to do?
First, we play for more time. We'll start targeting someone else that could conceivably have done this.
Right. And it'll take them so long to shoot us down that we can get another day.
Right, but if we pick the wrong person, we might lose on the spot. You don't sound very optimistic. I'm not optimistic at all, actually.
Hey Nick, it's time.
Okay, let's go. What does that mean? Please don't sigh like that. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Mr. Powers. Mr. Edgeworth, will you present the prosecution's thought on this matter? The prosecution's thoughts are simple. Nothing has changed. The other person who went to the studios was a boy of roughly 10 years of age. The photo we do have may not be hard evidence, but there is still no one else that could have committed this crime. I call for a verdict of guilty for the defendant, Mr. Will Powers. Very well. Mr. Wright, your thoughts? The defense disagrees with the prosecution's claim. There is another person who could have committed this crime. The assistant. Order. Interesting. Let us hear who you have in mind. However, be aware that this court does not look kindly on accusing the innocent. If you accuse someone who is obviously innocent, you will be penalized. Alright, great. As if the stakes weren't high enough. So who was this person other than Mr. Powers that could have committed the murder? The assistant girl? Well, I mean, technically all of them could have. was the assistant. The Steel Samurai costume was in his dressing room. She stole it, and in doing so, she became the Steel Samurai. So you're saying the Steel Samurai in the picture is really the assistant? That's correct, Your Honor. If you're serious, you've got guts, Mr. Wright. Remember the photo? Wasn't the Steel Samurai a little lame? He was dragging his foot. No, he wasn't, and you can clearly see that. Oh, bad feeling time. Remember the testimony concerning Power's injury?
Powers and poor Hammer were at the run-through. Oh, and me.
What about the assistant?
Oh, her? She was cleaning up backdrops, I think. She didn't know about Power's ankle.
Well, the person wasn't dragging his ankle. Dragging his foot. She could look the Steel Samurai look with that costume, but she couldn't walk the Steel Samurai walk. She wouldn't have limped. Well, the Steel Samurai wasn't limping, for God's sake. That kind of takes the legs out from under that case. Mr. Wright, I'm afraid I have to penalize you as I warned. Well, okay, look at the damn photo. That's not a limp. There's no limping going on here. You can clearly see the feet here. God's sake. Incompetent court. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. May we move on, Mr. Wright? This fight isn't over yet. If you would, Your Honor, one more chance, please. Very well, go ahead. Well, let's blame the security lady then. It was the security lady, Wendy Oldback.
Who?
The Steel Samurai is dragging his leg in this picture. No, he's not, Phoenix. Alright, I'll shut up about it. That means whoever was in the suit knew about that morning's injury. Maybe because they had been watching the action scene run through. There was only one person other than Powers and Hammer who knew about the injury. The security lady Oldback.
What? Whippersnapper.
Order. Order. Is this true, Oldback?
Oldback? That's Mrs. Oldback to you.
Mrs. Oldback was standing guard alone at the main gate. She was by herself, in other words, she has no alibi. She could have briefly left her post to steal the Steel Samurai costume, then slipped into Studio 1, the scene of the murder. Why would she go through the trouble of wearing the Steel Samurai costume? Simple, Your Honor. She knew the camera at the gate would take her picture. If she was in his costume, she could point the finger at Mr. Powers. I see. Excellent deductive reasoning, Mr. Wright. Oh yeah, right here. Sherlock Holmes #2, baby. Well, there's one problem with the whole thing. She was the only one that told us about the injury of his ankle in the first place. So if she just didn't tell us, then there's no point in pretending to have a limp while walking. That's odd. Isn't this the part where Edgeworth pounces? Doesn't he usually jump up with an objection and some new damning evidence? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, does the prosecution have an opinion on this matter? The prosecution has no meaningful objections at this time.
Well, what's that supposed to mean? Oh, so you all think I did it? Is that it? Edgy boy, don't just sit there, do something.
What's my move? Maybe now's my chance to take this the whole way? The very same reasoning that makes Mr. Powers a suspect in this case can be used to cast doubt on Miss Oldback's actions on that day.
But why would I do something so horrible to poor Hammer?
You forget that Mr. Powers lacks a clear motive too. Indeed. That did it. Now went back as one of the suspects. No hard feelings, I hope.
Wait just a minute. What about the other person who went to the studio? The boy! The one whose photo I erased.
Oh, now you think he's suspicious? He's only a grade schooler though, as you said, 2nd or 3rd grade, was it?
That doesn't matter. When I was that age, I could pin my old man in 10 seconds tops.
Your thoughts, Mr. Wright? That boy is not the killer.
What? How can you be so sure? Oh, or is it to be nice to the kids and mean to your elders, whippersnapper?
I have proof.
Proof?
Yeah, I'm as confused as you, old bag. Indeed. Then let's see this proof, Mr. Wright. You have proof that shows the boy could not have committed this murder? Do I? I mean, the card key, perhaps? Like, they're either playing at the spear is too heavy, or the card key, which you have to get through the gate, which I'm going to assume that's what they mean. The scene of the murder, as we all know, was Studio 1. However, you need a card key to enter Studio 1. How could a boy with no formal relation to the studios have a card key? I see. Well, would the witness care to comment on this?
Hmm.
The windbag. Speechless. This has got to be a first. Very well. This court will suspend proceedings on the current trial for today. Mr. Edgeworth, please find more about your witness, Miss Wendy. What was her name? Something Oldback, Your Honor. Then the prosecution will look further into this Oldback before we continue. That is all. This court is adjourned.
Wait a second. I'm not going to just sit here while you run off barking up the wrong tree. Me. I'm talking.
Oh, great. Stop the presses. This windbag wants to talk. Mrs. Oldback, what is this all about? Have you omitted something from your testimony?
Actually, if you must know, there's something I was told not to talk about.
Not to talk about? By whom? Huh? You mean it wasn't Edgeworth who told her not to talk? Well, testify.
Global Studios wanted me to keep quiet about something. There were some other people at the studios on the day of the murder. They said they had nothing to do with it, see? So they told me to just pretend they hadn't been at the studios that day. But if you're going to go accusing me, I'm not letting them get away scot-free.
Oh, great. Mrs. Oldback, this is crucial information. Why did you keep this from the court until now?
Ain't you been listening? They told me to shut my trap and I always do what I'm told.
No, this isn't a bad dream, Your Honor. Witness the power of the old bag. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination. Alright, who were these people? Who? Who were these people?
Well, the director and the producer for starters.
The director? We should have known something was fishy. How could they have done a run-through of their action scene without a director? Of course.
Yes, well, I was surprised no one asked about it.
So where were these people?
The director was in the employee area all morning for the run-through. He joined the producer around lunchtime and they had a meeting after that.
Where?
Oh, in the Studio 2 trailer.
Studio 2? There was a Studio... Yes, Phoenix, come on.
Well, if you look at the guide map, here it is. You go through the gate and all the way to the left. The path where the monkey's head was fallen over.
Well, Mr. Wright, would you like to continue the cross-examination? I think I've already asked my questions, but yeah, sure. Go on. Mrs. Oldback, this is a trial for murder.
I know that, silly. Still, they were pretty convincing about having nothing to do with it. And they gave me a little bonus on the side.
That's like the complete opposite of convincing. So you got your bonus and you still talked. I think I've asked all the questions I have to ask. Oh well, we'll take one more. Getting as much info as I can. Do they do this often? So you were told not to talk?
That's right, by the studio and the TV bigwigs, no less.
Why didn't I hear about this?
Don't be too hard on yourself, Sonny. We were all in on it.
Okay. So they were actually in the studio?
Yes, the whole day. When they heard about the murder, they beat it before the cops came.
I'll kill this woman, I swear it. I feel sorry for Edgeworth, almost. She really left him hanging on this one.
But if you're going to go accusing me, I'm not letting them get away scot-free.
Alright. Them? Who were these people? You know this, Phoenix. Director and producer, yep, we heard this. Yep, we've heard all of this. Yep. We've seen all this before. No, I've asked all the questions. Your Honor, we have learned there were others at Global Studios on the day in question. The director and the producer and some bigwigs were all present. Yet, as we stand here, they have not been questioned. I hold that it is impossible to declare a verdict on the defendant, Mr. Powers. The court acknowledges the defense's points. The prosecution will gather more information about the witness, Miss Oldbach, and more information about these other peoples we have just been told of. I understand, Your Honor. This ends the day's proceedings and the trials of Mr. Will Powers. That is all. This court is adjourned. October the 18th, 1:04 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. Thank you so much, Mr. Wright. I was right to ask you to defend me.
Oh, really? It's nothing. Oh, or should I?
We'll be going down to the studios to do some more investigating. We have to find out more about this director and producer. They'll be turning up in the next trial as witnesses for certain. So now's my chance to get material for the cross-examination.
So, Nick, have we figured out just who it was in that steel samurai costume? Could it really have been old Windback?
What do you think, Mr. Powers? I don't think it was her, really.
Neither do I, Nick.
Yeah, I know. Look, I was just buying time back there. Someone had to be the bad guy for a bit to take the pressure off Mr. Powers.
Poor old Windback. I feel kinda sorry for her.
I don't. Well, she wasn't winning any points in there, with or without my accusation. Okay, let's get down to the studios.
Right, we'll be back to visit you soon.
Thanks, guys. To be continued.